Okay. Take two. Welcome, everyone. This is our career panel for College of Chemistry students. We have a great panel lined up for you with our very recent alumni doing some great things. So we will definitely take your questions. I'm just going to start off with a few questions that we have sent out to our alumni, just so you get a kind of a good background about who they are and what they're doing. And if you would like, you can send your questions, put them in the chat, and we will get to them towards the end most likely. So without further ado, I'd love to start with intros. If you, panelists, if you don't mind, just state your name, your major, your current company, or current grad school. That would be awesome. And I would love to start with Lauren.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Cermeño. My major at Berkeley was chemistry with a minor in chemical engineering. Currently, I work at Genentech as a research associate, where I work on supporting the preclinical development of cancer therapeutics by using modeling and simulation, as well as imaging technologies.
Thank you, Lauren. How about Anthony?
Hi, my name is Anthony. I was a chemical biology major at Cal. I graduated last year and I currently work at the National Cancer Institute, doing some protein engineering, cancer immunotherapy, fun stuff. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Anthony. We'll go to Silver next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Silver. I graduated in 2019. I majored in chemical biology. I took a gap year, worked at Genentech, and now I'm a graduate student, first year at UCSF, pharmaceutical sciences program, and working on pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics.
Awesome. Thank you, Silver. And last but not least, Ty.
Hey guys, my name is Ty, and I transferred into UC Berkeley from community college and majored in chemical biology, and actually graduated and decided to kind of join a couple of guys forming a startup, and I've been working with them for the last 2 years, kind of in the crazy startup world, developing a silicon chip that automates cell engineering as their head of chemical science.
Thank you, Ty. All right, so my first question is, obviously we have a new admitted student, so we'd love to kind of hear about your decision process of choosing Berkeley, whether as a transfer student or as an incoming freshman. Why did you choose Berkeley? We'll start with you, Ty.
Oh, I chose Berkeley because for a couple of reasons. Number one, Berkeley's chemistry program is prolific. It's a really, really well-known, well-respected program. And I really wanted to go somewhere where I was surrounded by people who really had a passion for chemistry and demonstrated a really high level of expertise and skill. The other kind of thing that I was considering as a transfer student when I came in is looking for a school that had, a transfer student population. So if you look at other kind of equal tier schools, places like Stanford, there's not really a lot of transfer students there. I think the acceptance rate is like 4% or something. They just don't really do transfers. So I'm not sure if, what the experience of being a transfer there would have been like if I would have felt kind of isolated and kind of just a different place. But at Berkeley, there was a really great transfer community and a lot of transfer services that existed already.
Awesome, thank you. How about you, Silver? Your choice of Berkeley.
Yeah, I kind of want to echo Ty. I had the same experience because I also transferred. Definitely I thought of, like chemistry program is definitely top tier and there's a lot of cool research going on. So I got to look at that even before deciding, kind of went on the website, I looked at what faculty do. And the Transfer Student Center had also a good reputation of like supporting students in a lot of like ongoing programs. And then the other personal reason was that I kind of wanted to be close to my support system because I knew like Berkeley was kind of competitive. So I wanted to stay closer to where my family lives. So that kind of was factoring into my decision.
Absolutely. Thanks, Silver. How about you, Anthony?
Why did I choose Cal? I transferred to Cal because it was Cal, literally. I really think there was no other reason. I kind of pictured the kind of life that I wanted after being an undergrad, and which one would give me the platform or would push me into the kind of future I wanted, where I would be connected to a lot of people who were big in the chemistry world, who were doing research. And of all the schools I got into, I think Cal was at the top of them. So I wasn't even looking at, I didn't even know at the time that the chemistry program was great. I just, oh, UC Berkeley, I'm assuming it's great. So I just went, yeah, that was why I went.
Perfect. Thank you. Very honest answer. I like that. How about you, Lauren?
Yeah, I can definitely agree with Tony here, Anthony. Honestly, okay, and also a little bit of background on myself. I guess I'm the only panelist here who is not a transfer. I entered Berkeley as a first year. And a little bit more background on me as well. I am from El Paso, Texas. I'm actually not even from California. So I'm an out-of-state student. So just like Anthony said, like, honestly, I chose Berkeley because it was the best school that accepted me. And unlike Silver, I was like, it's the farthest away from home. I want to get out of here. Nothing bad about El Paso, you know, like I'm actually working from home here right now. But honestly, you know, being a first generation student, it was the best school that accepted me. And I really wanted to go to Cal because it was Cal, as well as it had the best chemistry and chemical engineering program. And I know that I wanted to be, you know, in that world, as well as when I graduated, I knew I wanted to be working with, you know, drug technologies, therapeutic technologies, even if I didn't know like the vocabulary to use for that yet. And I had just known that like the Bay Area was the place to be for getting my foot in the door in those kinds of places. So yeah, those are my reasons for choosing to attend Cal.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. So you guys all had, you know, very unique and some similar reasons for joining Cal. But obviously, once you join, there's obviously always some type of surprise. So I'd love to hear kind of when you first came in, what was some of the things that surprised you about Cal? And maybe we'll start with you, Silver.
Like I knew it was a competitive environment, but I did not know it would be kind of that nature, like of what I experienced as a transfer student. So that was a bit surprising, but I was also very surprised and happy about the support that I got on campus, whether it was from College of Chemistry advisors themselves, the counselors, or the professors themselves. So it's kind of like, okay, like it's challenging, but I'm surprised there is the support if I need it.
Awesome. Thank you. Ty, how about yourself?
Yeah, I actually, I had my first year at Berkeley was pretty rough. And I think what surprised me, actually, it was not because of the academics. I think everyone will tell you that Berkeley is a really gnarly, tough school. And part of that is because it has, you know, very rigorous coursework, rigorous academics. Your peers are going to be very smart, and everything is going to be on a curve, right? But I think what a lot of people don't take into account is, and this is something to consider as Berkeley is maybe this applies more to transfer than freshmen, but it can also apply to anyone who's kind of living in there and integrating into that system. Is Berkeley is a big school, and it has a lot less attention for any one individual student. So if you do get really unlucky and end up in a weird situation where you need help from the university with housing or something like that, it's really challenging. So it is, you know, the benefit is you have this massive student body and all of these resources and a lot of diversity. But the flip side of that is you can kind of be lost in a sea of students, right? You're part of like a city of students, really.
Thank you, Ty. How about you, Lauren? You were coming, you know, pretty far from your hometown. So what was kind of a big surprise for you at Cal?
Yeah, so I think that was the biggest surprise for me. Like I said, like I had a lot of, honestly, like just as an 18-year-old coming out of high school, like I had a lot of angst. Like I really want to move far away. I want to like go pursue my dream, go live in California, like go to this great school. And I had so much hope for it. And I arrived in the dorm, and it was awesome. The campus is beautiful, getting to walk around and all that. But I think what surprised me the most is just like having a culture shock. Like growing up in El Paso, like on the border, I was always surrounded by, people speaking Spanish and like Hispanic people in that community. And honestly, just like growing up around people who, had similar backgrounds to me, like their parents had similar educational backgrounds, like either, went to community college, didn't finish, or, didn't have any kind of advanced degrees, definitely didn't have any kind of like high up there professional, being a scientist, being a professor, things like that. And when I moved into the dorms, because I did live in the dorms my first year, like everyone on my floor, like their parents were either like scientists, like their parents were professors, like my roommates, because I lived in a triple, both of my roommates, like all of their parents were professors, like at universities. So I think like at the same time, while I did move over there, right, I did move to Berkeley, and I was so excited, and I wanted to be surrounded by these really smart people and being empowered by them. At the same time, I kind of felt a little bit alienated, and I definitely struggled to find my footing, to find my place, to find my community. And honestly, because of like that feeling of alienation, it did, cause me to not seek out community and not seek out resources and things like that within College of Chemistry. And, like Ty said, like I did have a rough first couple of years because of that. Like I was just afraid of taking advantage of resources, and afraid of, I don't know, maybe just afraid of finding community and like constantly comparing myself to others. But I'll share more in like the whole, what is your biggest advice to freshmen moving forward? But I definitely like taking advantage of those resources was what propelled me to succeed, and making community and making friends like Tony and suffering through classes. So yeah, definitely.
Nice. Thank you, Lauren. So Tony, you made a huge impact on Lauren, so we'd love to hear about your experience.
Um, I think
Biggest surprise.
Ty, Silver, and Lauren they already mentioned everything. When I was reflecting on this question, I tried to think about those smaller things about Berkeley that shocked me. So, so I never visited Berkeley until I was moving in. So I think one of the things that I was just like, what in the world is this? Was living in Unit 3. And I was like, isn't this a #1 public institution? Like the elevator is not working, like so like those smaller things, like, oh my gosh, like, is this what they're serving at Cafe 3? Like, what? Like, wait a minute. So like just those tinier things, I think, in addition to like the culture shock, like class size. Yeah. So I would just say those are my
Thank you. Yeah, I can imagine. I know when everyone's coming from different areas, especially if they haven't been to Berkeley, they don't realize that it's such an old university, right? And so that's what comes along with it, for sure. Okay, so moving on to, I know you're out of freshman year, you kind of hopefully got through most of the bumps of just the transition, which is, very natural. We'd love to hear some resources that you tapped into that really helped you while you were attending Cal. So Ty, how about we start with you?
Yeah, I mean, I want to start off and just say the counselors, right? College of Chemistry's counseling service is probably the best resource or best counseling service out of any major or group at the College of Chemistry. I was actually blown away to know that, in College of Chemistry, it's like, I think 400 or ish students maybe, and we have 4 counselors compared to the letters in science, which is like thousands of students, and they have like the same number of counselors. So we actually get a lot more attention when it comes to like actually just walking in and being able to talk to someone like Mara or Rachna about career counseling, or even your coursework. And they did a really great job to create peer services where it's other students who came in and act as either student advisors to kind of help you choose classes, give you recommendations from a student perspective, and also the peer tutoring center. So there are a lot of really valuable resources within the College of Chemistry, and it's a huge benefit. So definitely take advantage of those if you choose Berkeley. I think the other really clear, obvious advantage to Berkeley is it is a top tier research institution, and you can join the labs of incredibly famous, prolific scientists and get a really high quality research experience while there as a student, and that carries to your professional career in research, either into grad school or directly into industry, and people will recognize those names and take your experience very seriously.
Thank you, Ty. You touched upon peer tutoring services, and I just thought it'd be great if you can speak to it, because I know you're a big part of that. Just for the rest of the students, like what is that about, and who's able to access those services?
Yeah, so it really is just walk-in services. Anyone can kind of come in. I don't know what your guys' hours are these days, but before it was practically like 9 to 5 throughout the week, and you can go in to the center and just talk to anybody and ask them for help with either like choosing courses or kind of just general advice, how to find a research position, maybe how to find a summer internship, or even get one-on-one tutoring on a walk-in basis. So there's a schedule where different tutors who've taken whatever courses in the past that you might be taking now can give you advice or help you through homework problems, which are very tough. And you'll really want to be there to work with people. It's also a great opportunity to meet other students who are kind of working on the same problem sets, and you can kind of work together and learn. Maybe someone knows of good studying resources that you don't know of. So they're really organizations to try to facilitate intellectual community among the students.
Thank you, Ty. How about you, Anthony? What would you say helped you, one or two valuable resources?
Number one, I would say the people. I think because Berkeley is, like Ty said, is very top tier. There are a lot of people that that know a lot about whatever field you're interested in, right? So I think my graduate student mentor was just very valuable in like mentoring me at like, this is how you should do it. And because first generation transfer student, once you transfer in, like your first year, you're already thinking about graduation. You're like, oh my gosh, am I meeting requirements and all those fun stuff. So yeah, I also feel like second resource would probably have been like the the get-togethers, the carrier nights thingies that they would have in Kresge. I wish I took advantage of that more. I feel like in my last year, I kind of took 1 year in my 2 years to like to settle into this. Oh, this is how Berkeley is. And I wanted my final year, my senior year, to just be a hustle of like, okay, I'm talking to this person, going to this meeting, going to that. And well, COVID. So that didn't happen. So I think I would say, yeah, people that I surrounded myself with, like my graduate student mentor, the entire 121, like I literally slept there sometimes. I'm like 8, like they know me, Onisha, Maya, Mora, Koshi. I was there the entire time. Yeah, and just the like avenues to network, I wish I would have used as a resource, which are resources. I don't know if they still have like how they would have like grad every Friday, like the grad students would be on the. I wish I went to that more, like talk to more grad students, like get more information about what grad school was like network and all that. So I think that's another resource.
Thank you. Yeah, that's super helpful. How about you, Lauren?
Yeah, so I think I would like to highlight 2 different resources. One of them is what Anthony also mentioned, was just taking advantage of undergraduate research opportunities. Same thing that Anthony's saying. I had 2 different grad student mentors. They were so helpful in my development as a scientist. I guess and I'll get into this more, but like in terms of like advocating for yourself, when I went into the lab, I told them, these are my interests. You know, I have this like coding side of me, but I also have these wet lab skills. And I told my first mentor this, that I was interested in. And he told me, okay, that's great. Actually, let's get another mentor for you, which can support you on the coding side. And let's develop this research project for you, which is kind of like cross-functional, having both coding and lab-based skills. So they provided me with this opportunity to, you know, take ownership of a project and make it my own and really see it through. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to completely see it through because of COVID and the whole lab shutdowns. But, you know, we did plan for it, and I worked on it for, you know, over a year. So, you know, working in that research lab for 2 years, like did so many wonders for my understanding as a scientist, you know, outside of whatever, you know, the College of Chemistry curriculum was. In addition to, you know, that kind of professional development side and just, you know, getting that experience under my belt. The second one I would like to highlight, and I'm happy that everyone else is sharing resources within the College of Chemistry, but honestly, like for me, what helped me the most were resources outside of the College of Chemistry. So one that I would really like to point out, and whoever is a freshman here, like I would really encourage you guys to look into this program, because I didn't hear about it until like my second year. And that was just also from people outside College of Chemistry. And it's called Cal Nerds, and NERDS is an acronym. It's new experiences for underrepresented and diversity students, something like that. So they provide so many accessible like boot camps and mentorship and things like that. Like the first time I learned to code in Python was like going to one of these like free Cal Nerds boot camps. They provide you lunch, and that was also like such a lifesaver for me when I was an undergrad, like struggling. Different like, you know, workshops for women and for underrepresented people, as well as that was from some programs that you can apply to. I applied to, I totally forget the name of it right now, but it provided me funding for my research. So like I provided them the number of hours I worked in my research lab every week, and they would give me almost like a scholarship, and it would be processed through Cal Central as a scholarship. And it would, you know, support me as income working for my research. So it wasn't just on a volunteer basis, and I was getting compensated for my time. And again, that was really helpful for me as someone who's out of state, you know, paying my way through school, having a million loans, and just trying to support myself. Yeah, so I would definitely advocate for undergrad research, Cal Nerds, as well as if you're eligible for work study. That also was such a huge lifesaver for me. If you're eligible for work study, I would definitely encourage you, like while the Cal dining jobs are super easy and super accessible, I would 100% encourage you to instead, like if you have to work, and you know, I was in a position where I had to work 18 hours every week in order to pay my rent. Like it was all on me. I worked at the library and as a rover, and thankfully, you know, you guys are going to be back on campus. Those jobs are going to be available again soon. So I worked as a library rover, and working at the library enabled me to have, you know, maybe like 80% of my time, 50% of my time was just downtime, and I was able to work on my homework, and I was able to like honestly like have study partners with me in the library, and I would, while still getting my work done and things like that. So yeah, if you're eligible for work study, definitely I would encourage you to get a desk job or something like that where you have downtime and you're able to, you know, work on schoolwork while also getting paid.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. Awesome. Really, really good tips. Silver, thank you for sharing that link as well in the chat. But how about you yourself? I know you've also leveraged Cal Nerds in the past, but anything else that you'd like resources standpoint?
Yeah, I feel like Lauren and Anthony today all touched upon a lot of things I was going to say, which is great. Yeah, definitely CoC was like resources in the same college helped me a lot. I remember the career fair was really nice. The one that was held, like the alumni career fair every spring. That was a nice networking opportunity to like talk with either CoC alum or just like in general grad students when they had their like research posters showcasing their work. That was also a great opportunity to like talk to them and learn about their work and find out what research interests me the most. And through these like peer advising at CoC that Ty mentioned, I got to know more about, okay, how can I actually start reaching out to professors and be able to like do research and work with PIs in general. And then Cal Nerds, the program that I was part of is called Bergeron Scholars Program, which is listed in a link that I also sent. And that was like life changing, honestly. I wish I was a freshman, so then I took advantage of it like on a longer period of time, but I only was able to do it for a year since I was a transfer. And I was basically able to be mentored by an industry mentor at Genentech, who helped me to get my first internship after I graduated, which was amazing. And she also happened to be sharing the same cultural background of me because I'm Middle Eastern and I moved here like 10 years ago. So that was great. Like not only the scientific aspect and academic, but also the social aspect in the culture, which was very meaningful to see like a role model in the industry doing amazing work in cancer research, which what I worked on. And I was also able to fly to DC for like a women leadership conference through the same program before graduation. So it's amazing. You guys definitely should check it out.
Awesome. Thank you, Silver. Okay, so awesome resources all around. I think besides just resources, you know, there's going to be a lot of different, you know, transitions that our students are going to be going through, probably similar to what you guys have been through. And sometimes it makes more sense as like hindsight 2020. So as you guys are now out, graduated in your, you know, areas of professional grad school and careers, when you look back, what would you say is like one piece of advice that somebody told you or that you'd like to share with our students? Let's start with Ty, perhaps.
Yeah, so I have two pieces of advice that I think are counterintuitive to mostly what you hear as a student. And I think my first piece of advice would be to tell you that your GPA doesn't matter as much as you think it is, as it does. And I say that as someone who worked really, really hard to get a good GPA, a great GPA, and then realized nobody cared out in industry and also grad school. So I think Berkeley has a lot to offer, and sometimes, you know, the rigor of the coursework can really bring people's spirits down, especially since all the students who are accepted to college chemistry are really, really top tier students, and they're used to getting straight A's, right? And now all your peers are those same students at a very high caliber. So that said, you know, I think it's not something worth stressing about. I stressed about it a lot. And in hindsight, I could have stressed about it much less and gotten to the same place I am now. I think the other really important thing if you're coming to Berkeley, is the College of Chemistry attracts a lot of very focused people who are really passionate about chemistry. And it tends to, at times, get very insular, and people often don't spend enough time kind of exploring the other resources outside of the College of Chemistry. And maybe they get very trapped into thinking that, you know, there's really only one viable career path. And the College of Chemistry, I think the faculty of, this is my one criticism, maybe not always given a good job at showing the big range of career tracks that you can go into with a degree in chemistry. So spend some time to just really go to other departments, other science departments, talk to other faculty in other fields, whether it's things like neuroscience or engineering. You know, you'll find that chemistry is really involved in the vast majority of research that happens at Berkeley, even outside of the chemistry department, right? So even now, the work I do is largely stuff that might even be categorized under electrical engineering and computer science. And that's something I never really thought of as being very involved with chemistry. But it is. There's a lot of chemistry in all materials and matter and everything. And I think it's a good, you know, breath of fresh air to see a different perspective of other technical fields. I think the other thing to add to that too is Berkeley is in the Bay Area, and there's a huge industry of technology all around, right? So you have Emeryville right nearby, which is a big hub for biotech. You have San Francisco, which is a central hub for really startups in every field. So there's a lot of opportunities out there to go do a lot of different things, and that's a huge benefit to being in the Bay Area. But you really have to make an effort to kind of explore outside of the College of Chemistry to find them.
Thank you, Ty. Super helpful. How about you, Lauren? Advice.
Yeah, so reflecting on these questions, I think I have 2 bullet points to hit on. The first one is, again, touching back on like, feeling out of place and like having imposter syndrome, things like that. What got me kind of like out of that hole and what got me to like realize my full potential was really internalizing that it's okay to be vulnerable and to ask like quote unquote dumb questions. See Tony is nodding. I was so scared to go to office hours, like my first 2 years. Like maybe my first semester I went and like all of these people were asking these like super high level, like technical questions, just like overwhelming the GSI, like not even about the homework or the problem sets, just like random things about lecture, like, like, why are you here? Like, I want to get my coursework done. So, I'm trying to make that space for myself to say, I need to ask this question. I don't care if it's dumb. I need to get this answer just for my own understanding. And also not being afraid of like collaborating with my peers, even if I saw them as, above me, just, and I shouldn't have, like just because they came from different backgrounds from me, like doesn't mean that they're better than me or I was worse than them or anything like that. So just internalizing like, okay, I'm here. I made it. We're all in the same class. Like we're all in the same equal level playing field. Like your opinion is just as valid as mine. So not being afraid to ask some questions. And that's not only translating towards like office hours, but also like with recruiters and biotech and things like that. Like that's how I got my foot in the door with Genentech. I went to a recruiting event and was talking to one of the campus ambassadors and had all of these like questions about biotech. Like, again, like I didn't know what biotech was. I was just literally trying to understand, okay, how does this work? How is a drug developed from a molecule into a therapeutic? And asking her all these questions, which, maybe previously I was like, oh, that would be so dumb. Like everyone knows this. If you're at Berkeley, you need to know this. So not being afraid to ask those questions and just, for your own personal understanding. And I guess what goes along with that is taking advantage of your resources. Like Anthony said, everyone is so smart around you. Why wouldn't you want to learn from that? Instead of being intimidated by that, you should want to, learn from that and stop instead of comparing yourself. And just to shout out Rachna, because I read her article earlier today. She has a fantastic article on like comparing yourself with LinkedIn posts and all of these announcements and things like that coming out. So yeah, definitely go read it. Okay, the second one is don't take no for an answer. A little bit more into my personal story. So I came into College of Chemistry as a chemistry major, but I always wanted to transfer to chemical engineering. Like from my first semester, I knew I want to transfer into chemical engineering. And I took the coursework for chemical engineering for the first 2 years. And like I discussed, like my first 2 years were not the best. So at the end of my 2 years, I applied with the advisors and everything. I submitted my transcripts. I submitted a letter of recommendation and I was told no, like I got rejected. And I definitely could have appealed, I could have done more to work towards it. But honestly, like that was kind of the point where it like clicked in my brain, like, okay, like I cannot continue not, succeeding and doing well in my classes, or else I'm just not going to, get a exciting position and get where I want to be in life and with career prospects. So after I got that rejection, that was the semester after that, I started working in a chemical engineering lab, started doing chemical engineering research, and just networking more with the chemical engineering professors and staff and things like that, and making connections like with Professor Jason Ryder. He was super, super helpful for me and connecting me to other chemical and bioreactor kinds of people in the field. And I guess eventually I did graduate with the chemical engineering minor, and I'm super proud of that. Even if I didn't get the major, I'm very, very proud that I got the minor, because that was really difficult even just to get the minor. And now, I've graduated. I got job offers literally working with the job title chemical engineer. I stayed in, I chose to stay at Genentech, but now I'm in a different department and I work on a team of people who are engineers. Multiple of them are chemical engineers, mechanical engineers, things like that. I'm the only one with a chemistry degree title. So yeah, I guess just like not taking no for an answer, just being consistent, knowing what your goals are, having that, laser focus. And, the same thing that Ty said about like not caring about your GPA, like your GPA at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. From all of the applications I've applied to, no one has ever asked me for my GPA. And I did work really hard. It's not the best, I got a 3.2, but it was a labor of love to get it to that point. So, yeah, I guess what I'm trying to get at is your experience counts way more than what your grades are or what anything says on your degree on the piece of paper. Like your experience, your drive, your passion, people will see that and they'll see that more than whatever it says on your degree.
Mic drop right there. Lauren, that was so amazing. I'm so glad this is recorded. I was about to say, I hope I can replay this. I can. This is such awesome tips. And Tony did a really good job of like capturing some of the best parts. So please check out the chat, anyone who missed this part. I can't summarize it all, but Lauren, I can't, I have to say that I remember meeting you when you first came into the Career Center and seeing like how you were not sure of what you wanted to do, and then becoming the same campus ambassador that you met. You became one of them for Genentech, and now you're a professional there. So you're a true success story. So thank you so much for sharing. It's just, I don't know, sorry. I'm just so excited to
okay. Yeah.
you had. I love that. And thank you so much for sharing. Tony, we'll go to you because you were nodding a lot. And so I know you felt all of that. So let's hear a little bit from you.
I don't even know what the question was because she was just preaching today. What was the question again?
Just overall, I mean, she gave kind of life advice, but just advice for Berkeley. Just kind of what you would say to your younger self, or what you would say to these incoming students to help them navigate.
I think for transfer students, I think the pressure is it's a little different in the sense that once you come in, you're already thinking about graduating. You're thinking, am I meeting all the requirements and all, and I felt, at least in my first year, I didn't have enough time to think of the kind of future I wanted, as opposed to like, I need to like settle into Berkeley, like, this class size is huge. And like Lauren said, culture shock is, you need like at least 2 semesters to understand what culture shock really does to you as a student. So I think that I would tell a new student to really just think about what kind of life you want to have post Berkeley, because at the end of the day, you will leave Berkeley, and your life after Berkeley is what will matter. So yeah, think of the kind of life you want to have and look for the people in Berkeley that can give you that. And if you can't find anybody, I think one of the things I love about Berkeley and the things that Berkeley taught me, I think just Bay Area is just like this idea of like starting things. Like if there's nothing for you, start it, literally. And there are people around Berkeley that want to help you. Yeah, so I would just say that look for people that can give you what you want. And if they don't exist, just, I don't know, start it from scratch, and people will join. And CoC is very helpful with like starting things and like being there to like, cheer you on. And is Dean Arnold here? No, he's not. Okay, I'm gonna email him. But but yeah, yeah, that's what I'd say.
Thank you. That's such a great point you brought up that we didn't touch upon yet. Is definitely the part of starting things. And I'm meeting more and more students who are doing that, and it's so amazing to see that. To be that voice. If you don't hear it, you can be that voice yourself. So thank you. That's a really good tip. Silver, how about yourself? Some specific advice for incoming.
That was all great. I don't have anything more substantial to add. But I guess, yeah, I kind of had the same experience, right? Like I got there, I felt intimidated by everyone and everything, literally even buildings around me, because they were just huge. And again, like lecture halls and everything and PIs and like, what does this mean? What are they doing? Like office hours, right? Like same feelings as Lauren. Like, why are they asking all these complicated questions? And I'm just out here trying to really just pass the class. Like, I don't care much about my GPA. I really just want to pass the class. And like, I mean, I care, but like not too much. But I think what it kind of grounded me is the idea that what grounded me is that there are people like me in my classroom, right? Like there are a lot knowing what they're doing and they're ahead of me, but there's so many people like me, Lauren, and like maybe Anthony and Tyler, like, okay, like we're just out here, we want to learn like what's the answer for this problem set, literally, like plain and simple. How can I work through this problem? So it kind of feels good to know you're not alone. And that's why like finding a community who's like you is essential. Like then you're not like a loner. There are people doing the same thing, struggling the same way. And yes, PChem, that was a struggle. And then the other thing that I would advise, if you have the chance and if you have the time, take advantage of psychological counseling. I think no one mentioned this, and I want to highlight that. That really helped me. We had our own, I don't know what's the situation right now, but we had our own counselor in CoC because we are on a different level of struggle compared to UC Berkeley students. So I thought that was really nice. And it helped me really. I had a lot of I had personal issues plus academic issues. Yes, you got it right, Anthony. Yeah, UB. And I think that was a nice resource, and I would advise people to take advantage of it and take care of your mental health, right? Like that's number one. If you're not feeling well mentally, you really can't perform and go where you want to go.
Thank you, Silver. Yes, that is very important for sure, mental health. And yeah, I think I would let the, yes, there we go. There's going to be another CoC dedicated counselor. So I'm sure you will have all of that information available soon as well before the semester starts. Thank you all for sharing. Those were kind of my questions. I'm going to quickly check the chat, or if anybody wants to ask their question live, that's perfectly fine too. Let's see.
I got a personal DM. Oh, but someone just sent something else, so never mind.
What specific aspects of CoC helped you guys get jobs, internships, admission to grad school?
I think that, and the other panelists can add, I think with Berkeley as a school or university, there isn't a lot of hand holding. So there will be opportunities and there will be events where people are coming to recruit, but I think a lot of the work has to fall on you. Like if you really want it, you really gotta go get it. It's very, there's no hand holding, which I learned in my second year, like my senior year, that, we had this event, biotech event. I went out collecting cards from people. Like I was like, I didn't know we could do this all along. So yeah, there is, there are all these information, there are all these, events out there, but if you really want it, you really have to go get it. There won't be no hand holding. That was my experience, at least. I don't know if anybody has any.
Could you actually repeat the question really quick?
Yeah, I'm just kind of around getting, Ty, you have a unique experience on this one, but it's about internships and jobs. What resources you use to land yours, I guess, more so, and also in terms of admission to grad school. But I did just want to kind of quickly mention, because I know Tony mentioned some of these fairs. So all of that will be continued to share with all of our students through our career mail, which is something we've started that will highlight all of the career fairs in the fall and spring, as well as these events where alumni will be coming to be available to you guys, and a lot of our students that are here, sorry, I'm calling you guys students still, our alumni that are here today have attended some of these. So we'll continue to have events like that as well for you all to connect with people in industry. But yeah, Ty, if you wanted to mention your experience with getting internships or jobs.
Yeah, this is a really great question that I think a lot of people approach the same way, and that's part of the problem. So the College of Chemistry is a really great place, and if you know where to look, there's a lot of opportunities. But I think a lot of people all tend to run to the same places, and so those places tend to be very overcrowded and very competitive, and that's true for both kind of finding undergraduate research opportunities. I saw a question about that. And also just finding work. So I found a lot of opportunities that were not listed by simply talking to people and getting to know people in other places, in chemistry or in other departments. Or the great thing about Berkeley too is it has a very, very lively kind of startup world. Although in College of Chemistry, you if you transfer in, you might not ever notice it unless you actually go seek those things out. And the only way I found out about that is because in the research lab I joined as an undergraduate, one of the grad students actually finished and founded a company and invited me to kind of work with them over the summer. And it really changed my perspective of what kind of opportunities are out there in science. So I would say, like, it is good to go to career fairs and apply to things and look for all those kind of formal opportunities, but don't underestimate the power of actually just going out there and emailing people and talking to them and just going by and be like, hey, I think whatever you're doing is really, really cool, and I would love to learn more about it. Can we Zoom sometime or get coffee? I actually did this with a number of early companies before I graduated and got multiple offers informally, just from talking to people, right? There weren't even positions that existed yet. They were just looking for someone to join as a research associate. And I ultimately, because I was kind of going out there, actually had a company or a group of some random researchers call me and invite me to kind of join their team. This was before they were even a company, and that became my current workplace, which is Mykonos. So I had the wonderful opportunity of being a founding member of that company, and now in a director level position because of it. So there's a lot of stuff out there. You just have to do some digging and don't run to where everyone else is running to.
Thank you, Ty.
Was there graduate, I think part of the question was grad school, right? Admission to grad school, like,
Yeah.
I can take a quick stab at that. I think like going through grad school is like a very structured process to apply. There are like multiple things you need to go through to like submit a successful graduate school application. And the number one resource for me were actually the GSIs, the graduate student structures at Berkeley, because they are obviously going through graduate school. So a number of them were helpful from inside the classroom and also in my own research lab where I worked, where I did my research. The senior grad students, like the junior ones of them also were very helpful, like looking at my kind of my essays, my application, how I put together my kind of research statement to explain my qualifications to admission people. And the PIs themselves, obviously, they can provide some nice insights on how to be successful in this process.
Thank you, Silver. So there's a few other questions that are very specific to switching majors and pre-med track. I'm not sure if maybe, I know Maura dropped her email. If you have a specific question you might want to ask, because I know there are specific requirements for those types of transfers, so I don't want to speak to that. But generally, there are, just from our data of students, providing us information about what they did post-graduation. Definitely College of Chemistry students have gone the pre-med track. They have applied to med school and done that as part of their career. because med schools accept students from multiple majors, and it also has a very specific track, kind of similar to what Silver said about the process with the MCAT and all of the other requirements. So there's no major requirement, and CoC students have done the pre-med track, just to answer that. But in terms of transferring between schools and GPA requirements, I think it would just really depend on some certain requirements. There you go. Thank you, Mara. Okay, we have somebody who raised their hand. You can go ahead and ask your question. I lost your name, sorry. Jessica, was it? No. All right, never mind. That was a mistake, it looks like. All right.
Can I take a quick shot at maybe answering a couple of these in general?
Yeah, sure.
I think one thing to keep in mind about Berkeley is that the College of Chemistry is an incredible place to teach you how to be a scientist and a researcher. And it's probably the best training out there if you want to go in that direction. And an incredible preparation if you want to go to a top tier grad program and become a scientist and researcher as a career. So I think maybe it's probably better suited for people who are looking to do MD, PhDs or medical research rather than becoming like a general practitioner or something. And I think people, that said, amazing experience for that one thing. I think some people that I've known who have wanted maybe more diverse experiences or maybe didn't want to be in research as a career were less satisfied with their experience because they felt like it was very rigorous and too restrictive. It didn't give them enough time to kind of explore these other avenues. So it's a double-edged sword.
Can I speak to some of that too? So I think, yeah, just to echo what Ty said, it is very rigorous. Obviously, everyone has been saying that. But I think, in my opinion, since I'm not someone, at least, it's not a hard and fast decision for me to pursue a PhD. I think what Berkeley has taught me, like the biggest thing, and especially CoC, is how to, teach myself things and learn for myself. And honestly, that's a really invaluable skill. Just being able to onboard to things very quickly, how to search for knowledge, how to, again, I know it's like a buzzword now, but how to use your resources, just how to teach yourself, because the class sizes are so big and, the GSIs only have so much bandwidth. So yeah, I feel like that was the biggest thing that I took away from CoC curriculum, was just learning how to teach myself things.
Thank you, Lauren. Yeah, that's a perfect answer. I just saw another question that was about how did it prepare you? And so I've heard that a lot from our alumni, that if you've gone through Berkeley and starting out in especially in industry careers, they were ready for it. They were like, oh yeah, I've done this plus more, so I can pretty much handle anything. So I'm glad that you had a similar experience. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you, Mara, for sharing that resource about the peer advising page as well. Okay, there's one more question for you, Lauren. Actually, could you describe how the transferring process was for the Chem E major and minor?
Yeah, so I guess I didn't ever transfer to Chemi as a major, but I guess to apply, I mean, it was not a difficult application process. I mean, I don't even think they require a personal statement. I added one just for context, didn't help, but I just submitted my transcript. Again, they don't require any letters of recommendation or anything like that, but I included it. It's I don't know if it's changed since then, but it just seemed like they were just gonna look at my grades and that was it. As far as the minor, it was a pretty smooth transition too. I think I only had to take 4 technical classes, but it was still a lot of curriculum underneath that. But I would definitely refer you to ask Mara or Shamaya or any of the counselors if you have any, or any of the advisors if you have any more specific questions.
Thanks. Thank you, Lauren. Yeah, and there's a major advising session on Wednesday, so that's probably the best place where you'll meet everyone, all the advisors who can help you with those types of questions. Awesome. Thank you, Shamaya, for that link. And all right. I mean, I think, we've kind of covered a lot. I know there's probably other questions that hopefully we can answer in other sessions or via our email. But I just wanted to take this opportunity to quickly thank all of our alumni again, Ty, Silver, Tony, Lauren. Thank you so much for taking out the time out of your busy schedules. I know you guys all have lots of things going on, so appreciate your time. We'll see you again. As you know, I'm always inviting you to our career events, which will kick off in the fall. So hopefully I'll see you all again. And thank you again for your time today.
Thanks, everyone.
Also, Rachna, thank